Why?
If only I had agriculture.
Throughout Israel's entire history, agriculture has been one of the most central aspects in defining its legacy and establishing its identity within the Near East. Biblical passages constantly refer to the importance of a prosperous harvest and warn of the dangers of a poor harvest. At times we can see just how important agriculture was to Israel and surrounding nations when prophets of Yahweh are recorded threatening their enemies with droughts. Agriculture was essential for ancient Israel in measuring their years, mapping out an agricultural cycle, keeping religious feasts, and even to some degree, the building of Solomon's temple. In ancient Israel, agriculture was vital in administering the Hebrew calendar, and therefore integral in the operation of an agriculturally powered society. Unlike the standardized modern Gregorian system, which is based around the revolving of the earth around the sun, the ancient Hebrew calendar was lunisolar, meaning it kept in sync with the natural cycles of the sun and the moon. Beginning with the crescent moon after the new moon phase, months lasted for a full moon cycle or a lunation before the next month was declared. However, in this period before exact equinox times could be calculated, the new moon of the new agricultural year was declared on the basis of certain natural conditions, including the severity or mildness of the winter, the maturity of the barley harvest, or the age of the young sacrificial pigeons and lambs. The first month of the new year, which begins in the spring, became known as Aviv, as declared by Yahweh in the biblical record of Exodus. Aviv shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. And as relayed to the Israelites by Moses, this day came ye out in the month of Aviv. This selection of Aviv's new moon, being based on natural signs of the land, reveals that agriculture was not only a source of produce, but a method of measuring the months and years that would in turn provide direction for planting and harvesting to continue. Aviv, which is also called Nisan in post-exilic scripture, as the first month of the year is followed by 11 more months. These functioned as the typical division of the year, but more importantly as tells of what crops would be harvested and what weather would be expected during that time. Whilst not perfect forecasts, the months of the year were understood to be a general basis of the agricultural structure. In dry months such as Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, and Ab, husbandry Israelites could expect harvests of figs, grapes, and olives, whilst in the wet season, almonds would begin to blossom in the month of Shevat. The Westminster Dictionary of the Bible explains that in Palestine, wheat was sown in November or December after the rains began. The harvest was in April, May, or June in Palestine, varying according to the locality and the weather at the time. It is clear these months provided the people of ancient Israel with a frame of reference for agriculture, but the agricultural cycle is also synonymous with the religious feasts and practices that were required of the people as a God-fearing nation. In this period, agriculture served both a necessitated role and a spiritual role within ancient Israel. Obviously, agriculture provided the people of Judah with a healthy diet and a measurement of time. But in a religious context of Orthodox Yahwism, agronomy in ancient Israel was structured around the numerous feasts introduced and upheld as a form of worship to their God. In the biblical record of Leviticus 23, Yahweh proclaims, "The feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations which ye shall proclaim in their seasons." These feasts were to be closely followed, with specific instructions on when to convocate. In the 14th day of the first month, at even is the Lord's Passover, and on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. Whilst a detailed time is given for the feasts of Yahweh, a peculiarity arises in keeping with the lunisolar calendar set out by the same deity in Exodus. A full lunation is around 29.5 days, meaning that 12 lunar months only adds up to around 354 days, 11.25 days short of a tropical year. Consequently, the beginning of the new year of Aviv would be 11.25 days earlier than the last, and over multiple years, the feasts during the time, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, would be celebrated extremely prematurely and would not occur in their seasons.
To remedy this and keep within the law, a 13th month is added periodically to make up for the loss of over 11 days annually. Whilst it seems the additional month would have fixed the problem of proclaiming the feasts in their seasons, under the reign of Jeroboam I, who enticed Israel away from following Yahweh, this would have been the least of the northern kingdom's concern. In addition to his numerous apostasies, he created a substitute rival feast for the Feast of Tabernacles, held 1 month later at a more convenient time, as harvest by then was finished. Whilst some Orthodox Yahwists would have kept the Feast of Yahweh in their seasons as according to the law, it seems the pervading notion was to celebrate these feasts without interrupting important cultivation periods. This could have meant the northern kingdom may have had more successful yields in the generations that succeeded Jeroboam I's reign, following this alternate form of Yahwism and walking in the ways of Jeroboam. In the book of Amos, there are numerous indications of agricultural prosperity under Jeroboam II, a little under 200 years later. Ye have planted pleasant vineyards, that drink wine in bowls, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great. Though perhaps less agriculturally plentiful, the southern kingdom mostly continued to worship Yahweh as Orthodox Yahwists, through the aforementioned feasts, but also in the form of temple worship that was similarly intrinsically connected to agriculture. The Jerusalem temple during and after Solomon's reign served as both a center of religious worship and an important political tool for the southern kingdom of Judea, as well as the development of royal Zion theology, but its very existence is almost entirely due to agriculture. What Israel lacked in minerals, smithing, and lumber, it made up for in its skilled olive, grape, fig, and especially barley and wheat cultivation. When constructing the temple, Solomon used David's stockpile of materials, yet more importantly, he utilized Israel's strong agronomic and trading presence to combine locally produced agricultural material with the minerals that were imported through trading of agricultural materials. In 1 Kings 5, Solomon negotiated with Hiram, the Phoenician king, to supply the materials needed for the temple, and due to Israel's heavy focus on agriculture, some scholars suggest he may have offered barley and wheat as payment. Not only did agriculture become a significant trading tool in the construction of Yahweh's temple, it was also an extremely important part of the temple's decorations and infrastructure. Local pines, imported cedars, and timber from Tyre made up the floors and walls. This was overlaid with traded gold that beheld carvings of cherubs and palm trees, all in combination to create a temple of great magnificence and fame and splendor in the sight of all the nations. A significant aspect of the temple was the entrance to the Holy of Holies. Unlike the pine and cedar that overlaid the floors and walls, the olive wood was being used in its secondary purpose. Olive trees were a massive part of agriculture in ancient Israel, and the smaller trunk size would have meant that multiple trees would have had to be removed from farms for the construction of the temple. This would have been a sacrifice, one made for the benefit of the temple, but a sacrifice nonetheless. This suggests that the importance and role of agriculture extended beyond purely dietetic and religious purposes and included the construction of important buildings, such as the temple.
In ancient Israel, there is no misunderstanding that agriculture was not only important, but essential to daily, monthly, and yearly life, and that it was incredibly vital to the celebration of religious feasts, the operation of trade, and the infrastructure of the temple.
With multiple accounts of agriculture littered throughout the Bible and constant allusions and symbols referring to crops and harvests within the text, it cannot be understated that Israel was extremely concerned with agronomy because of its crucial importance in their society.
Agriculture!